and
Yes.
we put the video up on our Patreon, which is just behind a paywall. So there's like really like 30 people see it. Like nobody. Nobody's
It's fine. It's fine.
So it's just for some people. Okay, so we're here. Are we ready to do this?
Oh my gosh, we're ready. I'll feel better once.
Do you need to call the kindergartners again?
Yeah, I called that kindergartner phone number for the pep talk, but now I'm good.
That's the cutest little thing.
Super cute.
I love
But
that
no, I'm
thing.
good.
Okay.
They
All right.
said you got it, girl. So I'm ready.
All right. So I'm just gonna say hi, and we're just gonna go.
Okay.
Hi, Emma and Delia.
Hi.
Hi.
It is so very wonderful to have you here with my ovaries. E can't be with us today. E sends apologies. They booked a show and are not free. These things happen in the actor's life, but the production schedule must go on. So I am here, and I've been very excited to talk to the two of you. So before we really get into it, why don't we just have you explain who you are with your 30-second elevator pitch. Tell the audience what they need to know. On your mark. Oh, I have to get the timer. That's what E does. That's not my job. Let me get the timer. And don't worry, we'll never cut you off. As you know, we do this elevator pitch for fun, and then we forget to cut people off because we get so into your stories. I can't even find my clock. Where's my clock? Don't worry, my editor will edit this out. Oh my God, where's the clock? Oh yeah. You know what?
Do you want me to time it?
Oh my God.
And she can count to 30 in her head.
That's what I'll do.
And raise your hand
Oh
when
my
I get to
God.
the end. 1 Mississippi.
Oh my God, I can't find it. I really can't find it.
It's okay.
They
I
just did the
practiced and
upgrade.
it's under.
You have it. I know you have it. They just did the
Yeah.
upgrade on my iPhone, and
Oh
I can't
gosh.
find things, and things are making my life very hard. I can't handle technology anymore. I'm
It's
too
no
old for this.
problem.
I'll watch my watch.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to say on your mark, get set, go. Okay.
Ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
I'm Emma. I'm married to Monica. We have raised and are almost done raising 2 beautiful human beings, the youngest of which is here with me today. We are a blended family. Additionally, I am a psychotherapist. I see couples and individuals. I work at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and I do home studies for second parent and international and domestic adoptions in New York State.
Boom. That was
Well,
definitely under 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I don't have a
perfect.
timer up because my phone is not working for me, but that was bomb. That was great.
Woohoo.
Congratulations. So,
Thank you.
first of all, I just want to say it's so exciting for us to have Delia, you here, because we always talk to parents. We talk to the queer parents in families, but we very rarely get to talk to the children and get your takes on everything. So this is a super special treat for us. And I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about your mom and your other mom.
Yeah.
And your
I'm-
whole extended family.
I am Mama, and my wife is Mamaka.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Who came up with that? How did that come up?
I don't know.
I
I
think-
think I just started her calling her that, and then my brother and I had a disagreement on how we would spell it.
Yeah,
but
they spell
now
it differently.
now we
Oh.
agree. We finally
How do you spell it?
agreed. Maybe he still spells it differently, but I spell it Momica. So I just replaced the
Ah.
N in Monica with an M to make it Momica.
Ah.
But initially I spelled it Mama and then like ICA.
That's what I would have thought, Mama. And I'm Mama to my kids, but I do it M-A-M. Isn't it funny how we have,
Yeah.
not only do we have different names for all of our parentals in our queer families, but then we spell them differently too.
Yeah.
So I'm M-A-M-A, and people are, and then I say to people when they don't know how to tell us apart, like new parents at school, they'll say, which one is, you're Jamie or you're Ann? I say, or they, what do they call you? Or the kids? I don't know. And I just always say shorter mom, shorter
Yeah.
name, Mama.
Oh,
M-A-M-A.
that's
there you
smart.
go.
Yeah.
However, people are like, wait, Mama is not shorter than mom because,
Oh.
yeah. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. Shorter mom, shorter name. I'm making no sense.
Well,
Let's
I
talk
am
to you.
very short and Monica's very tall.
Yeah.
So that comes up when her friends say, how do you know which
Yeah,
one?
they're like,
which
which
one
one's
is this?
which? I'm
Which
like,
they're
I'll
interested.
be telling a story and they go, is that the tall mom or the short mom? And
Yeah.
I'm like, you've never met either of them. So really, I don't know how that's helping,
Right.
but it's
That's
the
how you
short
talk
one.
about your mom. Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
actually that's how my kids' friends know us, the shorter mom and the taller mom.
Yeah.
And which one is mama? The one with the shorter one is mama. But all right, so you Delia, you are young, so you have an older brother. How old is your brother?
He's 18. He's a freshman in college.
And how old
Oh
are
my
you?
God, that's crazy to say.
That's crazy, right?
He's
See,
18.
I-
He's an adult, 18 and a half.
He's 18 and a half. I'm a junior in high school. I'm 16.
Those are the golden years. Remember these years. That's like the best time. Well, actually, I don't know if it's the best time or not.
Parents out there, 6 to 10 is the golden years of parenting, 6 to 11.
Okay.
But then about 16 again, it gets really great.
It gets better.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
good to
does.
know.
It
Well,
gets hard. Younger than when we were kids, we were terrors, I think, at like 17, 16, 17.
Right.
And now they're terrors much younger, and then they land. And so you have a few years that are nice before you send them away. But she never had that.
No.
She was,
But-
that's
but
how I was. I was just
did.
a golden child. My whole childhood. I was like an angel to my parents.
Yeah.
That's my
She's great.
story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Delia is really, really a good one. Good job, Delia. Good job. You're not driving your mother crazy.
No, she might be driving me crazy, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
So
You know.
let's
I told
that's our job. That's our job. Drive you crazy and embarrass you. That's really our job.
I
Well,
like
let's-
to lay on her like a weighted blanket.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
like-
that's so fun for her.
So much fun.
Yeah.
I do
okay.
similar things to my poor daughter. But listen,
Yeah.
the cuddles, you're going to miss them someday. Someday you'll want more of our cuddles, maybe, hopefully.
For sure.
So let's take it all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
How did this all start?
So I was married prior to Monica. I was married to their dad.
Mhm.
And I got married pretty young, and we were married a long time. And then when we divorced when they were like 5 and 7, and about a little bit after that, I went to a wedding of my very oldest best friend ever in Mexico. And because she's my oldest friend, I always knew I was going to go. So I was set to go, but I didn't know until, got closer if I was going to go as a family, if we were going to go as a couple, or if I was going to need this time to myself. So I went by myself, and it was great. And that's where I met Monica. And I didn't go looking for this at all.
Mhm.
I mean, I kind of thought this can be a lot of fun, but it's also a destination wedding. And so if you make a mistake, you're stuck there, So I was like, but I saw her, and everything sort of froze. Time sort of froze. I think about that movie Sleeping Beauty, when there was that green kind of mist, and I was compelled. I was like, this person looks very interesting. And so I went over there, and I I put my hand on her, and I made meaningful eye contact. That's the secret. Physical contact, intentional physical contact, and meaningful eye contact. I tell my clients that all the time. And I offered to, I tell
I
you that all the time.
I can tell that, Delia,
That's
you've
how-
heard this before.
That's how it works. And I asked if she wanted some ice, and she was intrigued, and we started talking, and we had a great time. And then after the weekend, my friend who got married, my friend was like, I don't know if you're ever going to see her again. I was like, well, I know how wedding hookups go.
Oh, was it a hookup?
Well, I mean, we hooked up, yes, at the wedding, but she also didn't live in New York. She lived in Seattle.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, well, I live in New York, she lives in Seattle. well, maybe if I go to Seattle, I'll see my friend, I'll see her again. Or if she comes to New York for work, I'll see her again. But then I got back, and a couple weeks later, I got this like message from some sort of tablet service assistant person, an email that said, hello, like Monica will be in town this weekend. Please clear your schedule. Please make arrangements. Meet her here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is a baller move. I was like, this is very good. So well, it wasn't my weekend, so I like left, and I went and met her in the city, and then we had a great time together. And then we sort of said we're going to see each other like once a month. We're going to try to see each other once a month. And so we saw each other once a month, but we both were like, we don't have long distance in us forever.
Mhm.
And so we decided that we would do this for a year, and then we would either break up, or she has to move because the kids were here and established. So shortly, pretty soon in, she was like, yeah, let's do this for real. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So then she moved to New York, but I wouldn't let her live. She didn't live with us. She didn't move in with us. I made her move all the way here. And I was like, uproot your whole life, get a new job, figure everything out, but like live on your own.
Take it slow. You
Yeah.
you
Well,
did
I had
the
a lot of coming
opposite.
out. I had a lot of coming out to do, and I was going to do it right. Like, so I
Right.
did it. I did it right. I came out. So, many, many months in, I told the kids about her, but they
Uh-huh.
didn't know her. When she would come visit, they was all vacation. When she would come visit, they didn't see her. I told, and then when she moved here, they met her, but like she would come for dinner, and then she would go, or we would go out for ice cream, and then she would, go, and it was really nice. And then we had some, my ex had some tough times, and so I was living in the apartment that we were living in, and it had to be sold. So I was like, oh shoot. So then we all moved in with her, not my ex, just the kids and me.
Uh-huh.
And we
Uh-huh.
moved in with her, and then she and I found a more permanent place to move into, and then we decided to get married, and here we are. Delia
Here we
walked us
are.
down the aisle. It's really great.
Yes.
It's really
Well,
great.
okay. This is amazing.
Yeah.
For my first question to you, Emma, is had
Yeah.
you had and I'm gonna use a technical term here. Had you had lesbianic relations before Mamaka?
No. So no. This is my sort of understanding through like lots of years of sort of trying to understand this.
Mhm.
Looking back on my life, first of all, like my friends in high school, they were all gay. My friends in college, they were gay. No girl ever made a move at me. I don't know why, but never, never. So I think it could have been sped up had that happened. But
Right.
when I was really, really young in elementary school, and my best friend was this girl whose wedding I was at in Mexico, who is also married to a woman. And she was my best friend in elementary school. And the other kids, girls were not nice to me.
Oh.
They were not nice. Girls in my school, they were just not nice. And it was overwhelming. I wasn't good at this was back in the day when we had like three-way calling, and there was all that, right? And it was like, I wasn't savvy. I couldn't negotiate it. I never had the right clothes. I
Oh.
didn't have the right jeans. I didn't have I have curly hair. It took me 100 years to learn how to have good curly hair. Like I just didn't have it together, and
Mhm.
girls were not nice. And so basically I sort of like shut them down. I had a couple good best friends, but
Mhm.
I wasn't into girls at all. Like as friend, I just didn't trust them. I wasn't very close with them. And then I got to high school, and I realized that boys boys are a one note song. They're easy,
Mm.
and like it's an easy way to get popular, to get companionship, to have a boyfriend, gives you some status.
Mhm.
And boys they're so easy.
I can relate to
And
that on a
yeah.
on a note. Like I dated guys in high school too, and even in college, just because it was like no, I wasn't scared of guys. Like I was scared of girls. Like flirting
Yeah.
with women is so scary for me and it's such a different beast. You're right. But with
I was
guys,
so
I can flirt with a
scared.
guy, no problem. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm not saying it has nothing to do with my physical being. I'm not saying I'm the hottest thing in the world, but like, it's not that hard to get them
You got
interested, right?
you got you got this going, like
Yeah.
someone's going to be
You have a pulse?
interested,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a
Hmm.
pulse, someone's going to be interested. So boys, I felt like it was high stakes with girls. Now looking back, like there was a girl in my when I was in 6th grade, she was in the school play. She played Huck Finn. She played Huck Finn.
Yeah,
And I
she
was
did.
like, oh.
Yeah, she
And
did.
then in high school, I was on a swim team, and there was a girl on the swim team that at first I was like, there are girls that you want to be like them, and then there are girls that you want to be next to them. And you don't like really understand why that is. But that was definitely the case. And there was a girl in college, like a bartender, that I was like, why do I want to hang out at this bar all the time? Like, I don't understand it. But nothing, no,
Right.
nothing.
Right.
And when I saw her, when I went on this trip, I thought I'm gonna, like, at this lesbian wedding in Mexico, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna meet a single guy. I don't know what I was
That's
thinking.
a good plan.
Yeah.
That's
It-
that's a real sturdy plan, I think.
yeah, I was like, So, but then I saw her and I was so intrigued. And it wasn't like everything clicked, but
Mhm.
I think like I'm a super monogamous person, and I think that when I got in this relationship with her dad really young, I sort of just like was like, phew, shut that down, because I'm I'm monogamous. So I just didn't really think about it. And
You don't look. You don't look.
yeah,
You don't explore.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
feel that.
testing anything. So no.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah, go ahead.
she had been married before, um
To a
to a
woman.
woman. And like I'm like a super cautionary tale, right? Like, I've got these 2 kids. I've never done this before. Like, you should drop everything and move across the country for me. I'm sure it's going to work out. And I haven't told my parents, but
Never been with a
but
woman before. Let's do
yeah,
this.
it'll be great. And we date, but I think one of the things that really helped is that because she lived so far away, we would do this thing called the night shift. So pretty quickly into our arrangement, the kids lived with me all the time.
Mhm.
And so we would do this thing called the night shift every single night. So I would take care of the kids, do the whole bedtime thing, put them to bed at like whatever 9. I would go to bed at 9, and then I would get up at like midnight, and we would talk on the phone till like 2 or 3 a.m. because it was her
Right.
time coming home from
Seattle.
work. Yeah, and we would talk on the phone, and then till like 2 or 3 a.m. And then we'd get off the phone, I'd go back to sleep, and then I'd get up and start the day. And I never felt tired. I always just had so much energy. It felt so great. And we really became really good friends. We became really good friends. And we're so different.
Yeah.
And it was like fun to explore that. And our lives were so different. So we had a lot to talk about. And that really helped.
I think everybody at home now has the Lionel Richie night shift song in their head,
Yeah.
because I do. I'm singing it in
Totally.
my head on the night shift.
Yeah.
It's happening. This might be the title of the episode. But so that's amazing. And I'm watching you talk, and I'm watching Delia, and I'm hearing how open you are about all of this. It's giving me hope. It's giving me life. It's all the stuff. But I want to hear, Delia, I want to hear your take. Like, how do you first, let's take it way back. Do you remember the divorce at all? Do you have any recollections of that? And if I ask
No,
you anything that
I
you're not comfortable answering, please tell me. And
okay.
yeah.
No, I have no sort of memory of that, really. I mean, I was really little, and it's just like Monica has been a part of my life for I have no idea how many years, but like more than
10.
half of my life, at
10.
least. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
10 years. So, like, it's like when I'm looking back on something, I'll be like, oh, Monica was in here. She was probably, at home. Or she
Right.
was probably like, it was like, oh no, I didn't know her then. It just like doesn't ever occur to me.
Yeah.
that like it was a time before I knew her, just because I was so young, really.
It's just the fabric of who you are. It's just a part of you.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, we went on this trip with one of her friends, and I was like, and I was like, oh, she wasn't there. I guess she was working. And I was like, no, I didn't know her. Like we were so little.
Yeah. And
Like,
they
I was just
didn't
like,
see a lot of crazy conflict. They didn't see, there was nothing dramatic or alarming.
In the end of your marriage. Or,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
No.
So it wasn't like that at all. And, so, I mean, of course, divorce is traumatic, but it wasn't, it wasn't contentious. There was no, we did mediation, we did joint cut, everything was fine.
Mhm.
So as far as those things go,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
everything was fun.
we're nice about each other. We don't
Yeah.
talk smack about
Right.
each other.
and
Yeah.
and your ex is still in the picture and all the stuff, and you're just this one big
Yeah.
beautiful blended family that's working out.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so Delia, so then do you remember meeting Monica? Do you remember when Monica first came in, or is it all just kind of like, I feel like
Yeah, it's all just, I don't remember anything. I think really the first thing I remember is my birthday one year, but obviously it wasn't the first time because I wouldn't meet her for the first time on my birthday. She bought
That would be
me,
weird.
yeah, that'd be weird, right? She bought me a Razor scooter and a bag of
Ooh.
rice because
Yeah.
I really love rice and
Julia
beans.
loves rice.
So she bought me a Razor scooter and a bag of rice. And obviously, if that was the first time you met a kid, you wouldn't buy them a bag of rice. So,
right.
Chances are,
Probably asked for that.
I'm sure I did, honestly.
When
A
Delia
bag
was
of
a kid,
rice.
when Delia was a kid, she would throw a fit every time at the deli for the little tiny boxes of Junior Mints that are 25 cents with like
Uh-huh.
5. And finally, I bought her one, and she had a meltdown because she thought they were black beans and they were
black beans.
there was
There's
chocolate.
chocolate.
And she was mad. The guy at the deli's like, "What is your problem?" And I was like, "She thinks that she didn't think they were chocolate." He's like, "What did she think they were?" I was like, "Black beans," and she's disappointed.
Yeah, so like obviously that wasn't the first time I met her.
No.
But that's the first recollection, I guess, of
Yeah.
her. But really, it just all mushed together.
I sat
Mhm.
them down
Mhm.
and I said, I have a new friend in my life and she's very important. And, some people have husbands or boyfriends, and some people have girlfriends or wives. And this is a friend like a girlfriend, and not a girlfriend like my other, straight like lady friends, but like a girlfriend. And so, I'd like to tell you a little bit about her over time, and and then you'll meet her down the line, but you're very special to me. So it's not until I feel like she totally is, special enough to meet you, but we're headed that way. And they were like, okay, whatever. And then she left the room. And I said to her brother, I feel like Delia didn't get it. And he's like, it doesn't matter. And I said, it does. And he's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry. And I was like, okay. And then Monica came to town one day, and we went to a very nice brunch with a bunch of her friends. And we took Delia because she was like easy and fun to take places. She was the only kid. So she's sitting there eating like her fancy, ridiculous brunch in New York, this New York kid. And the other women at the table are talking about this book club that they were in. And one of them said, this book club with Monica, and she said, well, when Monica's book club is very serious, you couldn't just love to read, you also had to be like kind of an intellectual. You had to like submit a writing sample. It was ridiculous.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
know.
I don't know.
And
If that's a
so
book club for me.
Yeah, you couldn't
right?
just like to read. You had to be an intellectual, and you had to be really like a thought. And Delia's sitting there, and she sits up and she goes, well, and be a lesbian. And I was like, and I was like, I guess she does get it. So
Delia, do you remember when your mom told you and all this stuff?
No, I don't remember any of this. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
you're like, it seems to me like your whole recollection of all of this stuff that transpired, that was a really big deal to your mom. I mean, it's a big deal to all of a sudden come out and tell your kids, and you're just like, okay.
No, I don't really think I ever cared. I mean, I think little kids don't really care about those things.
Right.
No, you'd hold her. And they're similar. Delia wore a lot of her brother's hand-me-downs, and
Yeah.
she was 40, and she
Mhm.
she is an athlete, and Monica was an athlete and a coach and whatnot. So they connected in a lot.
We have a very similar sense of humor, I think.
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah,
you
that's
fit well.
that's true.
You fit
Yeah.
together well. And I noticed that your mom is like really open about all kinds of things. Like she hooked up with Monica.
which
at
this is the first
wedding,
I've
and,
ever
like-
heard of this, by the way.
I
This is
mean,
the
you knew
first?
that's where we
Oh,
met.
okay.
I knew that's where they met. I just never knew that. I knew
was-
the rest of the story, just not that part.
Someone
I-
doesn't fly across country to visit you if it,
I don't
very
know. It
unlikely.
never occurred to me. It's like you're my mother. It doesn't ever occur to me to think of it like that, you know?
Okay, not to make it awkward or anything, but
It's okay. Anything
no.
goes in our household.
Well, it was very
conversation-wise.
funny. This is a story a little bit about that. Is when we were when we were getting married, we were looking at where we could go on a honeymoon, and we got married in September. So like a lot of places are kind of out because of hurricane season, and we didn't have, we're not going on a European adventure. Like we just
Mhm.
didn't have time for that. So we were looking at places to go. And, some of the places that are okay during hurricane season are not great for the LGBT
Yes.
people to travel.
Yes.
So one of a friend of ours had visited St. Kitts, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow, I'm surprised that that's like an okay place. And so we looked it up on Wikipedia, and I said, oh, in St. Kitts, it's illegal to be gay if you're a male, but not if you're a female. And so Delia was asking about that. And I said, well, they have laws on the books that are against things that gay men do together, that gay women don't do together. And so Delia said to me, so in St. Kitts, you're allowed to like drink wine and eat cheese? And I was like, yes. So then
That's
we
what you and
had
Mama could do.
Yes, totally. So then we had a birds and bees and a
Oh my
birds and
God, in the middle of the
birds.
park.
I'm trapped her in the park on a walk. A birds
That
and bees, a birds and birds, a little bees and bees, a little bird by herself. We had a whole conversation
I
about
haven't had to do this yet, and now you just
It's
got
great.
me so scared. And
You gotta
like,
include
how am I
it
gonna
all.
do this? How am I
You
gonna
got-
do this? So how do you do it? What just do? Wait, do you remember this deal? Oh, you remember this? right,
Yes, she
Delia?
I
does.
remember I was in the I remember we were in the park.
Yeah.
I don't know where in the park, except every time I'm in the park, every so often I'm like, maybe this was where. I don't actually know.
Prospect Park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean
uh-huh.
the park's like 3 blocks from our house. I go there all the time. I
Mhm.
was
I'm sure
not
I'm not the only person having this conversation in Prospect Park.
There's probably
I'm
a
s-
lot
I'm
of
sure
people
not.
having this conversation in Prospect Park. Exactly.
but we were in part of the park that was like a hill or something. We'd walked up all these stairs and we got to
Mhm.
the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, okay, I have to talk to you about something. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Can't
And
find
then
your way out.
she starts. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on the top of this hill. And I have to be listening to you explain this.
Oh,
And I'm
God.
stuck still in this park. And like, I can't, I don't think I had a phone on me, you know?
No.
There was no
Like,
phone
Yeah, no phone
There
yet.
was, I was like, I don't know if I
Do
was,
it before they have
Yeah.
a phone, right?
I was like, I
how
don't think
old
I-
were you?
I don't know.
Well, I do know because we
don't-
we got married in 2017. So
I
it
was
was like
11.
shortly around there. So you were like a 10 or 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
11,
God, it's
yeah.
coming up for me. It's coming up.
Yeah.
So
Well, the thing is like at school, they learn about that sex can make you sick or get you
Right.
pregnant.
yeah, right.
And like, if those are the only two options, why would anybody have sex? Right.
Right,
Like,
right.
if that's it. So, I mean, maybe if you wanted to have kids, but like and there's so much more to it. First of all,
Mm.
that's not the case for everybody. And also there's so much more to it. And so I really wanted her to understand. Her brother was in public school and they were doing a unit on it, and they had all these components to it. Justice, respect, and pleasure, all these things. I went to Catholic school till
Yeah.
college. My first year in college was the first day I had to decide what to wear to school because I wore a uniform.
Oh, and that's
Catholic
like,
school the whole way through. And so pleasure, please. So I was like, let's cover it all. And let me tell you how families, how babies are made in all those combinations, both men and women together, men together, women by themselves.
Mhm.
Let's talk about how you stay safe, men and women together, men and men together, women and women together, and women by themselves, and also how you have pleasure in this,
Right.
in all on all those spectrums. Also, I kind of skimmed over the men and men part with her, but it's a little bit. But we talked about a little bit. But we talked about like the parts of your body that bring pleasure, that some kinds of sex don't access those parts, and like, so you should think of, and that's an important component to it. If it's not bringing you joy and like, you got to have a conversation, right? And whatever you decide to do with the person you're with, if you feel emotionally connected and you choose that, and you feel pleasure and you feel whatever, that's sex. Like, there's no, it's not one thing.
Right.
And so we
Mhm.
covered it all. And we covered consent, of course. And I also I heavily discussed all that with her brother as well. Her brother had all these conversations as well. So, those things were really, really important. But I wanted, and also like responsibility, like,
Mhm.
I sent, my son is in college down south, and it's Roe v. Wade. So we had this conversation again before he went, and I sent him with plan B. And I was like, if something goes wrong, don't cross your fingers and wait 2 weeks. Like,
Right.
take, and it's your responsibility to be responsible for you and her, or whoever, but both of our
Right.
children sat us down and came out as straight. So
That's a whole thing. We're going to ask about that.
yeah. So, I know but he's prepared if that's not the case. But we listen, kids don't get to a moment where they're like heated and the hormones are going and things are going, and they say, oh, we don't have the right stuff, let's just not do it. Like, that
Right.
never happens.
Right.
So might as well, he's gotten condoms in his Christmas stocking
Mhm.
all the
My
time.
mom gave me condoms.
Yeah,
as
you
a kid.
gotta be,
For the record, they weren't actually in the stockings. He didn't like have to take them out of the stockings in front of the
Show everybody.
grandparents. In his bedroom.
Right, that's right, because
They
I
were
took
left
them
in the
out of the
bedroom.
stockings when the grandparents came.
Yeah.
Because
Santa has a little bit of
For the record,
Yeah,
he didn't
I
have to do
didn't
that in
think
front of the
that-
grandparents.
I didn't think that would go over that great.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah.
I feel like you really prepared long and hard for this talk, Emma.
Yeah, I was really like, what are the things that I had to figure out the hard way?
Right.
What are the
right.
things that I figured out in the field, if you will? Like,
Mhm.
like, and I wish I had known. And what are the things that, I also was like, there are certain, high school boys, for example, they're not so good at like the pleasure part of it. And
Right.
like, that's important. And it
Well,
should
because
be
their moms
important.
don't sit them down
Right.
and teach them
Right. You have
the
to
spots
tell.
where that
Yes.
matter.
And it was very good because we were talking about, little birds by themselves, and we were talking about toys and things like that. And she was asking, and I was like, toys that are shaped like the inside of a vagina, right? Like, we're
Uh-huh.
going to be sex positive. We're not going to be like toys that are shaped like if you're home by yourself with some toy, it's not because you can't find a man. It's because
Right.
this is what you want to be doing.
Right.
So we were
That's a good way of saying that's new. That's new for
yeah.
me.
So
Yeah,
we
I like
covered
that.
we covered a lot of it. And so once in a while I'm like, I think you're due for a refresher. And she's like, stop. But they watched
Poor Delia. I feel your pain, Delia.
Yeah.
But also
But,
it's
like,
really good. You got a good mom. It's
where
also
did I
awesome.
learn this stuff? I learned this stuff watching 16 Candles. There's a
Oh,
lot of
There
problematic
are so
stuff in
many
that.
problems in that
Oh
movie.
my god, yeah, we
Still
watched.
still
Yeah.
watch that. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you
it's
watch that and
great,
you're
but
like,
also like,
I mean, really
talk
bad
about
stuff.
consent, you're like passed out. I don't know.
OMG.
Yes, the 80s and 90 movies were not good.
No.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
And your favorite phrase?
oh yeah, I say this to all her friends. You want to say it? I say this to her, to all her friends. I coach her. I used to coach her swim team. I would say this when the kids would talk about stuff.
oh yeah, we'll be talking about like someone will be going on a date, or somebody will be, texting people, whatever. And she just like will pop up. Like literally she'll just like pop up out of the, like I'm like out of thin air, I swear. And she goes, teen pregnancy is 100% preventable. If you can't talk to your mom about it, you can talk to me. Like just like every time I'm like on the phone and she's like, we'll just like come downstairs and start saying it. And my friend goes, I guess we were talking too loud. And I was like, yeah, I guess so.
Your friend who said she didn't want to have kids, and I was like, well, let me tell you, teen pregnancy, 100% preventable.
She said,
you can't talk to your mom, you can talk to me.
yeah,
I
so
love
my
it.
friend
Oh my
was
God.
like, yeah, I don't know if I want to have kids. And so she was like, well, and then we pause and then we both look at each other and we start saying it. We all know it's coming. We've all heard it a million times.
I get,
Yeah.
but it's good. You have an open mother who is willing to discuss things with you, and
Yes.
like, have you? I'm wondering about your experience at school and with your peers. Do you ever hear like? Do you ever hear crazy information from a peer that you're just like, yeah, that's not the way it is? Like, do you ever have moments where you're like, my mom schooled me. Let me sit you down and school
Well,
you.
sometimes like we had health class last year as a
Mhm.
sophomore in New York City public school. You have to have health class for a semester or
Mhm.
just sometime in your high school career. And my school does it sophomore year.
Mhm.
And like some of the like I ate lunch last year at like a table of like 14 kids, and like 10 of them were guys. Some of them are so clueless.
Huh.
Like they talk about something and they're like, guys make this joke. I don't know. I haven't experienced it this year, but last year they make this joke about November. And November, you can't masturbate in November. It's
Oh.
no nut November. It's a big
No
thing. They
nut
joke about
November.
it. It's
Okay.
the most stupid thing ever. But they would sit down and they would start talking to each other and they'd be like, have you failed? They're having this
Right.
conversation. And I'm like sitting there with all these guys and they're talking among themselves. And I'm like, this is such a bizarre conversation. And they're like, well, you're like a girl, you can't masturbate. And I was like, where are you getting that information?
Oh
They
my
were like,
God.
what? And I was like, yeah, like, sure I can. Like, I'm not going to sit here explaining to you how I would do it, but like, sure I can. And they're like, what? And then like they sat down one day and after, because one of them came straight from health class and he would go, I just learned. And I was like, what? What did you do? If you just learned it, it means you learned it in health class. What did you just learn? And he was like, girls have more than one hole down there.
Yeah,
And
they
I was
don't know
like,
they don't know
like
anything.
they were like 15. I was
Yeah.
like, what? And he was
Right.
like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like,
No.
I was like, yesterday I heard this conversation about how you asked this girl out on a date. I hope you figure this out before.
I mean,
like,
exactly.
I was like, should I warn the girl? Like, I was like, this is like ridiculous.
They
Like,
don't know. They don't know.
They don't know anything, and they say
Mhm.
things, and I'm like, this is like clearly, like, I was taught how your body works by my parents. You were not
Right.
taught how my body works.
I didn't know. I mean, I learned about menstruation from Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which was so outdated. They had the belts. And I was like, what
remember-
is this belt?
I
I've never
remember
heard
that part
of
of
this.
the book. I asked my
Yes.
mom, but I had a really open mother. I remember asking my mom, what the hell? What is this?
Right. Then it comes down to it. And I'm like, there is no belt in this system at all. I don't
Mm-mm.
understand. I still don't totally understand. I
The
don't,
belt.
what
I don't get it
no.
either. I think it I don't know. I don't know.
it goes around your waist.
we
It's a
need
real
our
belt.
moms.
Yeah,
to
it's like a
explain.
real belt, and it attaches to the pad.
And
Because
that's
it doesn't
back when
stick-
all
Because they don't have the sticky
Because tape
adhesive.
didn't exist in the 70s. Like, I don't know.
they didn't have
Oh,
the
I don't know.
adhesive, and but that was back when all folks with uteruses, not to gender it,
Yeah.
wore dresses. So I guess we're
Right.
because I'm thinking, how am I going to wear a belt under my jeans and my
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress.
Yeah.
I think that first of all, I just want to say, you go, Delia. It's amazing.
But like they just like are sitting there, and I'm like, clearly you guys like don't ever talk to girls. Like I'm like, what? Like what? And they're like, yeah. And I'm
You
like,
should like
no.
market your services to be like, let me tell you, like, I'll
Have
just
you ever watched that show, Sex Education?
no.
No.
There's a
Oh,
show on Netflix. His
Yeah,
mom
yeah,
is
yeah.
like a sex therapist, and so he knows everything because his mom's a sex therapist. and
Why-
he like makes
yeah.
money off of it. I've never
Why-
seen the
and
show.
My
but-
question is, why is this not the norm? Like in our families, the families that have the two moms or the two dads or whatever
Mhm.
else the
Yeah.
situation is, it's obvious that something different happened in order to create the family. So we have to have these conversations. It's kind of, we're more apt to have these conversations because it's kind of a necessity for us to explain to our
Right.
children where they came from.
Yeah.
But why is that not the norm across the board? Why can't, like, why in the heteronormative world is it just assumed that the kids are going to figure it out because they
I don't
don't
know.
figure it out?
Well, I mean, this idea that the boys don't understand this November idea, I think this idea, it's very important for men
that's just
to
what brought the topic
feel
on
that
to
they
it.
are indispensable. Like,
Right.
right? We need them for everything.
Right.
We need them for income. Oh, turns out we don't. We
don't.
need them, right? And like, and then because we need them so much, they get a pass on helping around the house or
Mhm.
helping, right? Because we need them for pleasure and we need them for support. And it should be new. They should be a little bit stressed about the fact that we can do a lot of great things without them.
I mean,
No.
But-
listen, I think, well, it's so funny. We just had a conversation with the executive director of the LGBTQ task force. And she
Mhm.
was saying something very similar to what you're saying, like those who've been in the majority for so long, like men, the fear that they feel of losing power and losing control and realizing that no, we don't actually need them. We actually have a lot of power on our own is a really scary thing and makes them want to hold on to their power even stronger. And it's not
Right.
even at the forefront. Like it's not something that's conscious. It's just
Right.
something
Because if it
that's
was at
in
the forefront, it would make them want to show up better.
right.
But it right, but it doesn't. Instead, they just want to be like, no, you can't do this with your body. No, you can't, whatever.
And this is not all men. And this is
No.
not like I'm not trying to shade all men, and I'm not saying all straight men are the worst, and they're not, but there are some like your schoolmates who don't understand the human body, and let's make that a normal thing. Let's make human bodies and learning about human bodies, all the different kinds and all the
Right.
different ways that folks can have.
Because also
Before.
this is the age, I think, where you might start having a complicated relationship with your body, and you
Right.
need to understand what the spectrum is and how you could change your body or how to match how you feel better and how what's happening, and you need to be connected with your relationship around all your parts, but around your gendered parts particularly, so that you can find the path that fits best for you.
Mhm.
You know, a good relationship with your body, whatever that is. So I do think it's important, but I think people don't know how to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They think if they don't talk about it, their kids won't do it.
Which
You
is-
know,
Yeah, some of these kids also aren't allowed to be at home alone with opposite gender.
Oh.
So
right?
like one of the guys there, he had a girlfriend, and he was like, I'm gonna hang out with my girlfriend this night, and I was like, okay, whatever. And he was like, well, he's like, oh, actually, no, I can't. Like, my parents aren't there, and my parents and her parents both track us. So if we're home alone,
Yeah, I don't track them.
and they know that the parents are at the house because the parents will tell his girlfriend's parents that they're out of the house, then they'll get in trouble.
Oh
Which
my
I don't
God.
think he's still with his girlfriend actually, but
But
Oh my God.
tracking is another, that's a whole decision you'll have to make down
I
the
know
line.
you're getting me so stressed out right now.
Sorry.
Listen, I've never tracked them. I've been a big believer in like, until you really give me a reason to take away some of your liberties, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Like I don't set I haven't set curfews. And you know, my son, for example, we have a deal, because he stays out a lot later than she does. And
I like to sleep.
she likes to sleep, but he stays out late, and I don't know where he is, and I don't know, but if I wake up and he's not home and I text him, you know, I'll say checking in, and he'll write back like that, check.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
At least
Because
you know
the
he's
thing
okay.
is I do want to know he's alive. I don't think people do not understand this, that when parents reach out to you, it's because they like really just need to know that you're alive.
Uh-huh.
and they really think you might not be. So you should always
They
respond.
really
But
do.
they,
And the longer it takes you to respond, the more things
yes.
that go through their brains.
Yeah, and they're like gutter, you're laying face
She'll-
down
Oh
in a
my
pool of
God.
some right.
She'll
It's like-
text me and I won't respond, and she'll just
Yeah, I
call
know.
my friend who I'm
But
with.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because they respond. Their
But
parents are
I-
much.
But I don't I need him to make the wrong decisions while he's young enough for me to help him learn
Right.
from it, and where it's not going to ruin his life. And, and we've talked openly about these decisions. So he's not going to make a decision that ruins his life, hopefully. And, because I think when you like track them and you're on them and everything, then they get into the world. Like, even the idea of like, you have to do this before you have to do your homework before you do this. Well, guess what? They get to college and they're like, I cannot do that. And I can do this other thing. Right. And so I can play video games and not do my homework. And so you gotta like,
They have to understand freedom first. Like they have to
Yeah.
understand freedom, but also if they can understand freedom, I don't know how to express what I'm trying to say, but like if you give them a sense of freedom while they're in your house, but also how to get things done with your freedom, then maybe that's a better life skill than just dictating how it has to go every single time and how things need to
and
be.
I listen to the show, so I know a little bit about your daughter, and probably this is going to go fine for you, because my guess, your daughter is a little bit like my son, which is like, you can't make them do anything. They really have to like do it because they decided they're going to do it. And if you enter a
Yes.
power struggle,
I
you're
can't. Yeah.
you're going to lose, because he has my unconditional love. So that's the only thing he could lose. He's not going to lose it. So he's going to go down swinging, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she's going to go down swinging. And I mean, when I'm thinking of when he was 4, not 18, he's totally lovely and a dream. But but I think about like, so it doesn't work anyway, right?
Right.
Like the more
Right.
you close in on kids like that, the
It's
more they're
so-
like, oh yeah, screw you.
I just had a moment with my daughter the other night, right before, it always happens right before bedtime.
Mhm.
Shit hits the fan and
Mhm.
she was off. She loses her temper. I lost my temper. It was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
We made up. We kind of made up. She was going to bed and I come in and I'm like, this kid will always win. You're so
Mhm.
right. I go,
Mhm.
well, do you want a hug? Do you want a hug? Should we hug and make up? Whatever you want. Do what you
Mhm.
want. Doesn't bother me. Excuse me? Like, and then it's like right away, I'm
Right.
right back up to that place. Like, what did you just say? So
Yeah.
you're right. Like all these kids, all of you kids come into the world with your own unique.
I mean, this
beautiful
one, if I like
personalities.
get a little bit more stern or I say Delia, and then she's like, okay,
Yeah.
and she'll like, but
Right. That's how I was.
if my son is Casey, if I'm like Casey, he's like, oh yeah,
What do you
and
want?
it, yeah, and or later, and it's like, so
Yeah.
like, to me, any kind of attempt to control is just going to push him. And so it's just better to have lots of conversations about what I'm concerned about, what my bare minimum, you need to check in, whatever.
Mhm.
And it's been successful. I mean, he is successful. So
That's great.
it's,
That's the best you can hope for, right?
yeah, I
Happy
mean,
and
he's,
successful and
yeah.
and not making huge mistakes. I mean, I had a lot of freedom as a kid. I was a really good kid. I didn't abuse my privileges, but I didn't have very many rules, really. And I was free to go where I wanted as long as I called and told them where I was, and it worked out well for me.
Well, I had a mom who thought I was doing the wrong thing all the time. She had all these ideas of where I was, what I was doing, and like I wasn't doing those things. But
Right.
at some point I was like, well, I might as well be doing those things. Like I'm basically in trouble for them.
It's like wishing it
Right?
into existence.
I was like, well, if I'm seen as like that you have to police my every move as it is, like what is the incentive, right? And so I need them to be good and follow rules and to self-regulate and be responsible and whatever for them, not for me. Because when I'm not there, whatever. So it's for
Right.
them, right? Like I mean, it's hard. Like and it's constant. We were at parents weekend and our son was very, very sick, very sick. The first night of parents weekend, he slept in our hotel room and he asked me to sleep in his bed with him because he was like, oh, mommy, I'm so sick.
Oh.
But then the second night, I could tell he was going to go out with friends. And I was like, listen, you're going to go out with friends tonight. I have bought you this weekend because you've been sick, Advil PM and NyQuil. I said, you have a very important decision to make and you have to make it right. You can take Advil PM and NyQuil, or you can go out and have alcohol, but like, you cannot do both because this is why that these slow your system. This slows like you're going to snuff out. Like, do you know who Michael Jackson is? Like, you're going to, snuff yourself out. Like we're not going to do that. And that's I can't take away I can't make him stay in. I can't take away the NyQuil, whatever. I just made this decision. And, in the morning he was alive and well. So I don't know what he decided, but
he was okay. You're just illustrating for me. Everybody always says, bigger kid, bigger problems. You think it's hard now, but the problems get bigger. And you're just illustrating for me, like the fact that, oh my God, there's a lot more. There's a lot more coming.
One thing I wasn't prepared for is, even though older kids have some pretty great things going on, they're high level conversations, they're interested in cool things, their homework is interesting. One thing I didn't know is that teenagers are actually like physically a lot of work, which I thought, because I feel like I was such an easy teenager, but nowadays, and maybe it's because it's New York, but like, I need this for practice and I need it tomorrow. I need this for school and I need it today. Can you drive me here? Can you pick me up there? I have to go here. This thing's in New Jersey. This game starts at this. SATs are in Staten Island starting at 7 a.m. and you're out of town. Can you help me? Like, and it's a lot of work.
Oh my God.
And I feel like, I'm like, what? I thought I was going to put my feet up these years.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Okay. Well, I'll just
I'll
get rid of that myth right now. But Delia, what about, I want to know, like, this is probably a dumb question and you've probably been asked it and there's not really an answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's it like having two moms? Like, what's your experience? Have there been any moments where you've had to explain your family and it was awkward, or not? It wasn't awkward. It's never been awkward. Like, what's it like?
Oh, I explain our family countless numbers of times constantly.
Why?
I say something. Well, to me, family is like such an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here. And I think she's ditching me tonight. I lied about that. I'm not hanging out with her tonight. She's ditching me. But
Delia
like,
wants to hang out with you, Emma.
I took her to Ani DeFranco on Monday.
Oh my God.
I went to
Ani.
I was probably the youngest person there by 20 years. So
wow. Did it resonate with you like it resonates with us?
I thought she kind of looked like my best friend's mother, which I thought was funny.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Which I was like, that looks like my friend's mother.
I was like, you're going.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
she looks like my friend's mother.
She is a mother, I know.
Yeah.
But it's still like
I know.
So I just like talk about it. Like, it'll come up, and I'll say something, and I'll be like, oh, well, my mom was saying this, and then my other mom was saying this, and they were like, your other mom,
right?
And I was like, yeah, like, you have two
We
parents.
don't use stepmom.
I don't ever use stepmom. I just say other mom, and then people, I'll be like, yeah, I have two moms, and people are like, okay, and I'm like, to clarify, they're married, and they go, oh, and I was like, yeah, thank you.
Right.
Like, I'll say, then sometimes people are like, that's obvious that they're married, and I'm like, well, you'd be surprised. People don't put it together.
Yeah. So the coming out is constant, not only for us, because I'm always still coming out, but it's still you come out too.
Yeah, but I don't. If I think someone's not going to take it well, which there are kids that I know that I go to school with that I'm like, not even bother with you. I'm not gonna win this argument. I just don't bring it up. Yeah. Or I'll bring it up and then they'll say something and I'll be like, oh my God, did you just say your dad cooked you dinner? Like, what? Like, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And they're like, what? Why? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You made a big deal about I have two moms who would dare cook dinner, and then you just told me your dad cooked dinner. So I feel like,
right,
you don't need a mom.
Ideas.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't need this person to do that. If I just have two people that can do that, so do you. It's not that much different.
Right.
But sometimes, like, I'm around kids and I'm like, yeah, I kind of know your stance on the world. I've kind of heard you speak.
Julia goes to the largest high school in the United States.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of kids from all different cultures, all different parts of Brooklyn, all different areas, all different parts of New York City.
Mhm.
And we live in a bubble in
Right.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so it's a reminder that
Yeah, like I'll be talking to my family and then they'll ask a question and I'm like, oh, just I'm like, I'm just gonna skip right over that question because
Right.
that question is not asked with the intent of you wanting to know. It's asked with the intent of you wanting to judge. And what do
Right.
I care, you know?
Right.
But I'm a big believer that if I don't want to be around you, I can kind of make my go through the world without having to be around you.
Right.
Like my friends at school, they're all great. None of them care.
Delia's out with all her friends. It's very funny. Casey, when his friends come over, he's like, this is Emma, this is Monica. And like, I can see the kids are like,
No one ever
like,
cares.
we-
Seven people are confused.
yeah, they don't have, and he just
'Cause
doesn't
he doesn't
say,
tell them
he doesn't
ahead.
tell
He
them
doesn't-
anything. I'm
Right.
sure
No,
you're
but
like,
like,
are
well,
you?
that's what I'm saying is like, I talk about my family all the time. I'm like, this weekend with my family, we went to
Mhm.
this and we went to the concert and had fun and like, it just comes up in conversation and then kids ask questions and normally they're very kind about it.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever had someone be like blatantly unkind, but you can hear it in people's voices that they're trying very
Mm.
hard to be kind and
We,
do not actually want to be kind.
Right.
But
yeah.
I just don't spend time around those people. Like, I mean, there's like literally there's over 6,000 students at my school. In
Right.
4 years of high school, there's 6,000 kids,
Wow.
just like the size of a lot of colleges.
Mhm.
So if I don't really want to be around you, there are 35 people in each class. I
Mhm.
probably have at max one class with you. I
Well,
can make
we
it
went
through
on
the day.
vacation one year and we took our son's friend with us. And like a week before the vacation, our son had another friend over and he was like, hey, I heard about this vacation coming up. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you know, that kid's dad is a Republican, right? And I was like, oh, really? So
Right.
then I said to Casey, I was like, does your friend know that you have two moms? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, he needs to know before we get to the airport. Like,
Just in
and it
case.
needs to be okay with everybody. And he's like, okay. And then the mom called me and she's like, hey, we're divorced. Like, we're totally fine. Don't worry about it. Like, his dad has opinions, but like, who knows? But like, have a great trip. Is there anything we can do to help? Like, she was really sweet about it. And I was like, okay. I
Right.
just wanted to make sure that I didn't get to the airport and this other parent is like, wait a minute, where's the dad? Or what's
Right,
happening?
right.
And, and I was like, oh, everybody
You're gonna
has to
teach
know.
my kid that lesbian sex.
Yeah, I was like, everybody, right.
You can
right.
trap him in a park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Take your kid in the park and talk to him.
Talk about
On the
all the different
plane.
ways.
On the plane where there's
Yeah.
nowhere to go, I'm gonna be like, hey, let me tell you, Timmy, about the birds and the bees and the birds and the
Indoctrinate
birds.
this young
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
An ally by the time the trip is over.
Right.
No,
Right.
but
Well, wasn't that the trip that Casey was like said something about like a beard and he was like, I don't know what that is.
oh yeah, they didn't know
And-
the phrase of what a beard is.
I did.
Like-
But
Like dating someone to hide their sexuality. Like I think we were talking about Kevin Spacey.
I don't know who
Yeah,
you're talking
what
about.
you
I
know,
don't
like
know
a
who you're
beard
talking
when
about.
you're
Right,
like closeted, so you have
Mhm.
a girlfriend to hide that you're
Like
closeted
Tom
or
Cruise,
whatever.
like a
Yeah,
wife
yeah,
or two.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. There are many examples that we came up with.
I don't know, but
Yeah,
that
they
they
didn't know
were
what a
talking
beard
about
was.
that, and I was like, "You'd be careful. You don't. This is very early on to the trip to be teaching this kid about this." But we were making jokes, but they were.
Yeah. Although the kid in his defense was like, "Why would you need that? Can't you just be who you?" And I was like,
Right.
"That's right,
There you
right." But
go. There you go.
that's right.
Right.
But no,
So what I'm gathering is it's really no big deal for you.
no, it
at
really
all.
doesn't affect my life. I feel like
It's just your family. This is
there's
how
a,
your
a
family
lot.
is.
There's a lot. All of their friends are gay. I feel like that. Not all their friends. A lot of their friends are gay. So
My
like,
straight friends are gonna listen to this and it'd be like,
sorry,
"What?"
I'm so sorry.
They're listen, they're the
sorry,
best.
Nicole.
The gays are the
Sorry, Nicole.
best.
But no, a lot of their friends are gay. So I'll be saying something and they'll be like, and I'll be like, oh yeah, my parents were over and their friends were over. They were all playing a board game, whatever. I wasn't gonna go into any further details, but Like, and they're like,
Lesbian board
"Oh,
game night.
you know, who was yeah, lesbian board game night."
Rocking.
And they were like, "Oh, you know,"
Living the dream.
and I'm
Mhm.
like telling it, and they're like, "You didn't mention a single guy's name in that," and I was like, "Well, you know,
Kids are so nosy.
kids
Yeah.
are nosy." There, but I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, well, you know, it's Pictionary. You're paired up. I don't know. I think you're paired up not with your partner actually, because I don't think they wanted to."
I can't remember. Yeah,
I don't know.
then we'd fight.
Yeah, but the like kids are like, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, their friends are gay, or like I'll say something and someone was talking about some person that they know that like, you know, like an adult that they like knew their parents were friends with, and I was like, oh, is it this person? They're like, no, and I was like, well, because she's a lesbian, and someone was like, how do you know she's a lesbian? And I was like, oh, to clarify, my moms are lesbians. Their friends are all lesbians. They are friends with my mother, therefore she is lesbian. I know her wife, you know. So she's in fact a lesbian. And they're like, oh, I thought you were just assuming that. And I was like, no, like, you know,
Delia,
but
Delia
people don't really
goes.
care.
Delia goes to this summer camp that's for girls, kids who identify as girls. Anyone
Mhm.
who can go, and they have what used to be Mom's Weekend, and now it's like Woman in Your Life Weekend.
Gibson
Mhm.
weekend.
Gibbs, yeah, and a couple years ago, her cabin had another girl with two
Oh, yeah.
moms, and their cabin was like famous because they had the most moms per capita of the cabin because we had, and the other cabins were like, what? I only have one mom, and
That's
you know,
so
Yeah, like my
it
friend,
was
like
fun.
we'll run like the first day your parents arrive, it's a big deal because you have all these activities. Your parents show up not late, but just not
I was late
immediately.
the first time.
Yeah. You show up
Oops.
not late, but just not
Oops.
immediately. And you go to these activities, and all the activities are planned around the fact that you have some sort of adult, whether it's, you know, a family member, an important woman in your life,
So
or
it's
like,
obvious when you're late.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
obvious when you're late, or
Right.
like some sort of, you know, person the camp has, like an alumni who's, you know, more than happy to be there and
Mhm.
is excited to be back at camp. But like, I'll be like, we'll be passing someone, and they'll be like, I'm like, are your parents here? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, I have two moms. Do you want to borrow one of them? Like, we can just, like, you can have one of them. I'm going to this
Loaning your
activity.
moms out. That's
I'm
the
like,
beauty of having
I'm like,
two.
we're going to like,
But I'm
stop.
always so grumpy that weekend. Nobody, because
I'm like, well, it's Friday. You haven't started camping yet.
right,
So
but
it's
you have to
like,
camp, and I love not
Oh.
camp. I love not camping.
they have to,
That's
they sleep on
love
it.
not
They sleep
camping.
on an air mattress, like with like, with
In it.
like a bathroom, like 20 feet away, maybe.
I love
And
not
coffee
camping.
and food. Like, it's not camping. Like, she's telling you, like, it's really not.
It's
But like,
not
I'm
that
like,
bad.
yeah, we're going to, you know, we're going to soccer. This one doesn't really want to go play soccer. You know, you can, or we're going to this swim activity. The other one doesn't want to go swimming. You can have that one.
Take this one. Take this mom from
Yeah,
me.
I'm like, you can do
I'm
this,
cool with
like, you
that.
know.
I don't
it's
really,
so
I
sweet.
mean, we don't, it's not such a thing like now we just move as a family, but one of the things that's a little bit like hard for me, so now I, you know, I do these home studies for second parent adoptions and whatnot,
Mhm.
and like we can't do that, you know, and like she can't adopt them.
Right,
And that
because
makes
you
me really
have
sad. I
because
mean, because they have a, you
they
know,
have a
I mean,
second
yes, they have a
parent.
dad, so like enough is enough. But it's it's sad, it's sad to me because, you know, they live with us. She would do it like her whole, I mean, she's, you know, she's at work right now helping pay for college. Like she's
Right,
in it, right? We're
right.
in it.
I made her go pick me up in the rain the other day from
Yeah, she
swim
hates driving in
practice.
the rain and at night, and she went and picked you up from swim practice.
Yeah,
And like,
so you know.
you know,
She's a real
we
parent.
Yeah.
yes, and she gets all, every time they get sick, she gets sick. Like like she, you
Oh,
know,
for sure.
she's in it, and it's, that part's a little bit of a bummer to me, but it's, and actually a few years ago you had a lawyer on, and I spoke to him. We were just talking because I do these home studies, and so I reached out to him, and he was saying that Brooklyn is very behind in family law compared to the other, and they're trying all these new things to catch up and to sort of be cutting edge.
Compared
he's
to the
like,
other boroughs or compared to
other parts of New York is obviously ahead, but compared to like Texas and such. But they were saying that, but compared to other major metropolitan cities, New York's family court and family law is behind.
Huh.
And they're making a lot of changes that I see from all my other jobs also, which are great. And they're important changes, now, when you go in to get divorced, like custody starts at 50-50. It doesn't just default and you
Doesn't just default to mom.
mom and every other weekend and whatever. Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
And but he said that there was some talk about having like a third parent adoption allowed, but
Oh.
it causes a lot of problems because of federal federal rights of inherit, like, if she could get Monica's social security, she could get 3 people's social security, right? And that would mess the
Oh,
system up.
and
So they
that's not-
haven't,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but it would be nice if there was something
That could be just put in paper that Monica is
Yeah.
full on 100% parent and
because
recognized
we
by the
travel
kids and-
internationally,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and if
And
something,
yeah, God forbid,
mhm.
what if something happens?
Right. And so it's funny because, obviously if something happened, my family, their dad would be like, yes, it's okay.
Right.
Obviously there would be no fight there, but it would still be, I say to parents who do these second parent adoptions who are like, do we really need to do this? And I was like, look, even if there's like, 10 hours where those are 10 scary hours. Now she's 16, but those are 10 scary hours for your little one
Mhm.
where they can't get access to a parent. And that feels kind of scary. And I actually toyed with the idea of, like, I don't know what, now that her brother's 18, if I could somehow like protect, if we all traveled internationally together, if he could have some rights to, he would have rights to her. If something happened to, I mean, we're talking about like if a giant bird plucks me out of the sky while we're on vacation,
Right.
out
Right.
of the US, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's most likely not going to happen, but we don't have a way to protect. There's no way to
Yes.
protect.
And I tell people say to me all the time, well, second parent adoption is a lot of work. And can't I do this like
It's a pain in the
document of
butt.
parentage? Yes.
Yes.
And I say to them, look, in the US, there are 23 states that don't recognize the birth certificate.
Mhm.
So if you are on the birth certificate and you're married and something happens in another one of those 23 states, it don't matter.
They don't
And
have
that's
to
right. And so
acknowledge.
it's smart. It's not about, people think, well, we're never going to break up, and it's not about that. It's
Mm-mm.
about safety, it's about security, and it's so important. So
It's better to be safe. It's just
yeah.
it's just better across the board to always have it buttoned
People
up
should
and-
do it. Listeners, do it. I know it's a pain. I know it
Yeah.
is.
And it
But
took
do
me
it.
forever to get it done, but we
Yes.
did it. We did
Yes,
it.
do it. It's
And
so good.
as somebody who does home studies, like a lot of folks get freaked out by this home study. I lucked out because it was during the pandemic, so we just did it over Zoom, and I
Yeah.
walked the computer around. It was amazing. But everybody gets so freaked out about this home study. Can you ease people's minds on the home
Yes.
study?
So when I do the home study, people reach out to me. I'm connected to, I get a lot of referrals from a lawyer who's big in the community, in the LGBT community. So they say, this lawyer has sent me to you. And I say to them, first, I always write back like, first of all, congratulations on your little one. And I want to acknowledge right up front that this is not something all families have to go through.
Mhm.
Right. And I just want to acknowledge that there are lots of families, different types of families that do, right? Step families have to, international adoption, but you are adopting your own child. And
Right.
that's, most people do not have to do that. And I just
Mhm.
want to acknowledge that outright. The second thing is, I want this to go through, right? Like I am going in with the impression that this is your child.
Mhm.
So not like it's up to me if this is your child, it is your child.
Mhm.
So I say to them, before I come, you should have, window guards, because they're the law in New York. And you should have a smoke detectors, and you should have a fire extinguisher. And if you don't have those, you should have a letter to your landlords requesting them, right? Like, I want this to be very smooth and very easy. And it is, you do get into people's business, and I love people's stories. I'm a therapist. by trade. So like people's stories are so beautiful. I'm so fascinated. I love all the details. And so, you know, of course I'm going to ask, I don't care about the details of your finance. The finances take like 6 seconds. And then I usually call back and be like, I forgot to ask how much your rent is. Like, you know, I forgot to ask if you paid taxes because it's not my priority, but I hear your story and really I'm going to hear your story. And listen, there's nothing from your childhood that's going to make me think you can't adopt because this is your child. It's already your child.
Yeah,
So
it is
if
funny,
you,
and I'm recalling all of the things I had to talk. We talked
Mhm.
about our family history. We
Yeah,
talked about
discipline
talked
from
about
when
my
growing
brother.
up.
Yeah, what this?
Mhm.
Oh wow, yeah, I remember. It was like a whole
It's a
long
lot.
hour-long conversation where we were going deep into the.
For listeners who know, it's a psychosocial evaluation. That's what it is. So it's a lot. But you know, if you tell me you had a terrible trauma and your parents were terrible, then you know that's not going to preclude you from anything.
Mhm.
Like there's not much. And you know, and I went to one recently and at the end the woman was like, well, don't you need to like look in the fridge or anything? And I said, well, I see your child, right? He's like obviously nourished. Like
Right.
he's engaged with me, he's up and walking around, he's running. Like I don't need to see your fridge. Like for one thing, if you don't have food in your fridge today, I know that you're feeding him
Right.
because
We didn't have food in the fridge
yeah,
yesterday.
we didn't.
I was like, I came
There
home
you
and they
go,
were like,
Delia.
figure out dinner, and I was
Yeah,
like,
we
there's no
don't have-
dinner.
right.
And then,
So I'm very aware that
you know,
You
nobody,
get
you
it.
know,
But it's a
right.
nice thing that you do, you know, and I think that the issue is, and I think where people get all bunched up is, you know, you're reaching out to this random person who's going to perform this home study and they don't necessarily do what you do. They don't start it out with,
Yeah.
first of all, I know not every family has to go through this. First of all, I
Yeah.
know that this baby is yours. You have put all your intention into
It's
it.
their
And,
baby.
right. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, the scary thing. That's the scary part. So basically, I think the lesson is we need to have more queer parent home study people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like I also worked, I mean, I was really interested in your discussion the one that aired last, a couple, like whenever, about people who went through the foster care system, because I used to work in child welfare and it was so amazing to me that, you know, they would say, well, the child is 4 and it weighs this much. And none of us knew what a 4-year-old is supposed to weigh because they don't hire people who have children because the
Right.
job is so hard that you can't do the job if you have children.
Right.
And
'cause it
so
breaks your
then they
heart.
hire people who don't, and because the hours are crazy and you're in the field.
Mm,
So then they hire people who don't have children, who don't know families and children.
right.
Right. Like I also know, like I come to your house and your house is a mess. Like
I get it.
yeah, like it's fine. It's fine.
Kids ruin things.
I know.
They just we
Yes.
can't have nice things.
Yes. Yes. It's not your fault. I
We
understand
know
that.
this. So
I'm a teenager and I still make our house a
Ruins
disaster.
I believe
Yes.
it. I believe it. I think you're a wonderful, beautiful human being, but I believe that you probably mess up
Yeah,
your
I think my
mom's house.
shoes are over there. Back
Monica
there.
and I went on a walk the other day, and like a half of the walk, she's lecturing me about like, Delia, it's just so messy. We have to get, and I'm texting Delia. I'm like, I'm in so much trouble because you left your crap all over. I was like, you better clean up your crap before I get home from this walk.
Like I
But-
literally I have a bone in the bathroom. I have
Yeah,
an elk
she got
bone
from
in the
camping.
bathroom that I brought home from this summer.
That's
And I was
fun.
saying to
Yeah,
someone,
her
I was saying
brother's
to
gonna
someone, I
come
was like,
home
oh
from-
my God, my brother's gonna come home and he's gonna be like, why is there a bone in my
No,
bathroom?
he's very
Yeah.
neat. He's
Because he's
so
neat and I drive him crazy because you know I have bones in the bathroom.
But
You
I
just
also,
you know,
collect
but like
bones.
children are messy. Like it's
I also like to focus on how you met, what you liked about each other. Like a feedback I get with my home studies a lot is like, it was really nice to like replay our relationship to you
Yeah.
in front of our kids. And like, they
Mhm.
hadn't heard that and how sweet it was, and about coming out to coming out and what that was like. And I like it to be like, this is a beautiful picture of this document. There's nothing in here that doesn't reflect the beautifulness of your family. And it is such an honor. I say this to every family I work with. It's just like such an honor to be part of this process of helping make finish off the family, right? Like you're a family already, but this is the legal, like crossing T's and dotting I's, and it's such an honor to just be able to like cross a T for you because
Yeah.
they're a beautiful family. Every time I come home, Monica says, "How was the home study?" I was like, "I wish we could be their friends."
Yeah,
I
that's
wish
how
we
I
could be
feel with
friends.
every
Yeah.
episode. That's how I feel with every single story I hear on this show. And
Jamie,
know,
we can be friends.
I
We
know
can
we
be
live so
friends.
close. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna get drinks.
You're gonna be like, take Rose for a walk in the park.
I really am. It's time for that talk.
Yeah.
Emma, do it. You available
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
But it's just it is, and I think that I was lucky. I had also a queer parent who I had interviewed, but I also had a queer mom who did our home study, and it eases your fears a lot. So they're out there. I don't think homestead. What do you call yourself? Home studiers? I'm going to call you a home studier.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a social worker.
Social workers who do home studies like you. I don't think that they're an exception. I think there are a lot of folks who are even straight who get it and are wonderful. So don't be afraid of the home study is the message. And
I started with international, and I understand that a little bit better, right? Like this other country is sending a baby overseas, and they just need to make sure that it's going to the right hands, because there's a lot of dark. But these are very different stories. These are unique. You're already a family. It's sort of a silly idea. So I try to make it fun. I try to make it kind of a warm conversation, right? I'm not, I tell them they don't have to dress up. They don't have to clean up. They don't have to, the kids, they take a long time. The kids always get bored and start to act out. And I'm like, that's expected. Like, it's totally fine.
Happened to us.
And yeah, right.
And no matter what you say, everybody's going to light a candle. Everybody's going to clean their kitchen. Like we're all going to go a little extra hard that day, but
I drink a lot of coffee. I try never to use their bathroom because I don't want them to think I'm like snooping and whatever.
Oh,
so by the end, I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Goodbye. Like,
so funny.
But these are just such special families, and it's so exciting you talk about, it's just so nice to sell. I try to see it as like a celebration of your family history.
Yeah. And our families rock, and we're really intentional, and we create really amazing human beings, which I'm seeing right here with Delia. So
she's amazing.
It's been such a pleasure to talk to you two, and to just listen. I always lean in a little closer when I'm talking to the kids, because we all want to know our kids are going to be okay, and we're doing everything we can to be open and honest and intentional with you. And when I see that it really works and it pays off, it warms my heart. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. And more to come. We're gonna have game night, lesbian game night soon.
Yeah. Oh my God, we were playing Pictionary, and she's sitting there doing homework, and we can't get it. And she's like, Nebraska, poison ivy. She's like sitting there giving all the answers.
I was trying to do homework, and like it'll ring,
she's
and
not
I'll be
even
like
looking at the drawing, and she can guess based on that.
Of course.
I'm like, I just need to do this homework I need to find the research for this paper that I'm trying to write.
And
I love
the
Pictionary.
Children are our future.
Yeah.
You are our future. Oh my God.
I was like,
thank
if
you
you-
too.
I was like,
so
just like,
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love it. I'm hitting stop on the places and stuff, but
Yeah.
you guys, that was amazing.